Hello and welcome to Midweek News, episode 58 for January 10th, 2024. Let's get into it. 101 of the best software for your Linux machine. From office suites to note-taking apps, there's something here for everyone who runs Linux. Brought to you by the good folks at MakeTechEasier.com. It's FOSS recaps 8 defining moments in open source and Linux World 2023 edition. From Ubuntu to Red Hat, 2023 was a roller coaster year for Linux and open source. 10 of the best modern screenshot apps for Linux. This list is worth taking a look at, especially since some of these are cross-platform and will also work with macOS and or Windows. Some of the top picks include Flameshot and Ksnip, which are both cross-platform for all 3 OSs. Ubuntu 23.04 is going to be end of life on January 25th, 2024. For those who haven't upgraded yet to Ubuntu 23.10, please be aware that the previous 23.04 version will be unsupported. It's time to think about migrating to 23.10, or if you're feeling very daring, you may want to start at least looking at some of the 24.04 LTS daily releases. Zero SSL. Secure your website with a free SSL certificate. Zero SSL is an alternative to Let's Encrypt. It may appeal more to users who desire a more user-friendly approach and additional support. Some features include manage certificates via a convenient UI, offer domain verification via email, no rate limit, SSL monitoring, and a REST API for those programmer types out there. There are both free and paid options available. Minisforum MS-01 is a compact workstation machine. This thing is a beast. Some of the features include a processor choice of an i9-12900H or 13900H, a smattering of popular ports, including 2 10 gigabit Ethernet and 2 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, HDMI 2.0, USB 4, USB 3.2, Gen 1 and Gen 2 Type A, and 2 USB 2.0 Type A. It also supports up to 3 M.2 SSDs. 1 PCIe Gen 4x4, 1 PCIe Gen 3x4, and 1 PCIe Gen 3x2. Memory is available via 2 SODIMM slots for up to 64 gigs of DDR5 5200 memory. It unfortunately supports only non-ECC RAM, which is a curious choice for a workstation class PC. Fixing Windows problems may get easier. You will soon be able to use a new feature in System Recover called Fix Problems Using Windows Update. This feature will be released in early 2024, and it will download and install a repair version of the OS. This should make things a little more interesting and hopefully easier on the end user. Fedora 40 is planning to make file system layout changes. Fedora plans to merge user bin and user sbin. Historically, user bin housed essential user executable programs, and user sbin held system administration tools. The separation has become largely redundant in modern Linux distributions thanks to dynamically linked libraries and plentiful storage. MX Linux Raspberry Pi Edition has officially been released. This OS supports both Raspberry Pi 4 and 5. It uses the XFCE 4.18 as its main desktop environment and is based on Debian 12. The Scribus 1.6 desktop publishing app has been released as a major update. This replaces the 1.4.8 stable version. Some new features include a revamped user interface with light and dark modes and new icons, high DPI-aware canvas rendering, a new PDF-based output preview, and a resource manager component for accessing online resources. You can learn more about this new release by taking a look through the article or visiting the Scribus website. Wi-Fi 7 officially launches. What might its impact be on Apple devices? Let's look at a little bit of background. Where Wi-Fi 6E is able to hit max transfer speeds of around 9 gigabits per second, Wi-Fi 7 is capable of nearly 46 gigabit per second. Wi-Fi 7 also features 320 megahertz channels. Devices equipped with Wi-Fi 7 can transmit and receive data simultaneously over multiple links of different frequencies. The iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max will be the first Apple devices to support Wi-Fi 7. Gaming handhelds, mini PCs, and headsets at CES 2024. Hyperkin is unveiling an upcoming handheld for playing classic Sega Genesis games using the original cartridges. Atari is teaming up with MyArcade on a modern handheld with a 7-inch display and built-in controllers that include a paddle and trackball. ASUS has plenty of NUC-based systems and is also showing off the Expert Center PN645 mini PC, which will likely be equipped with a 14th gen Intel chip, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, and up to 2 PCI Express 4.0 SSDs. All this and more can be found in the article from liliputing.com. ASUS NUC Pro and Pro Plus mini PCs pack Intel Meteor Lake processors into 4x4 designs. 2024 is going to be an interesting year in the land of mini PCs. For those who haven't been following, after Intel discontinued the NUC production, ASUS stepped up to get a license to take over production and build new products. Get ready for NUC branded PCs with Intel Ultra chips inside. Hewlett Packard Enterprise to acquire Juniper Networks in a bid for AI-driven innovation. This will be an interesting pairing. Upon completion of the transaction, Juniper CEO Rami Rahim will lead the combined HPE networking business. 40 simple and effective lsof examples for Linux systems. lsof is used to list open files, thus the name, and is common on Linux and Unix systems. You can get some interesting output from this command when you start filtering by username or other options that are available. This is definitely a command I need to spend some more time with, but probably more useful on systems with more than a single user. Linux Netstat Command tutorial with 40 examples. If you want to become a more effective system administrator, the Netstat command can really come in handy. From displaying all active sockets to honing down just to listening and non-listening sockets, there is definitely something here that most Linux users will find useful. Solus 4.5 has been released. Some features in this new version include Calamares installer, Pipewire, Linux kernel 6.6, a new XFCE edition, as well as more support for AMD hardware, the latest GNOME 45.2 and KDE Plasma 5.27.10 desktops. Certainly this is an interesting distribution and will be fun to take for a test drive. Linux kernel 6.7 has been released, loaded with fixes and a new file system. Some of the improvements packed into this rather large release include Intel improvements, better RISC-V support, AMD-specific enhancements, many storage improvements including the debut of bcache-fs file system, which is a copy-on-write or COW file system that focuses on reliability and robustness. Btrfs has also received a few new features. The article does contain a link to a guide to upgrade to the latest mainline Linux kernel on Ubuntu systems, but please keep in mind that it is not recommended to upgrade the Linux kernel manually unless you really need to resolve some issue. GNOME 46 to introduce headless remote logins via GNOME Display Manager. While GNOME is not my favorite desktop, I have to admit that more recent releases have really started to impress me. Adding headless remote logins is a feature that I'm pretty excited for. The GNOME Remote Desktop Alpha release is now available for public testing and is based on free RDP 3.1. Yes, this means that you will be able to use any tool capable of connecting to an RDP session to connect to a Linux system running GNOME 46 and later. Pretty exciting times we live in. Warehouse is the ultimate toolbox for managing Flatpak apps. Current key features of Warehouse include check install Flatpak details, group task, a batch mode for quickly uninstalling apps, deleting user data, and copying app IDs in large quantities, manage user data, leftover data management, can scan user data for associated apps, manage remotes, can remove active Flatpak remotes and add new ones. Obviously, a remote in Flatpak terminology is similar to a repository. This article includes instructions for installation and basic usage of Warehouse. And finally, LibreOffice 24.2 Release Candidate 1 is now available. The full release version is planned for early February, thus the version number, which contains the year and the month. The next major version after this will be 24.8, released in August of this year. There have reportedly been 59 issues fixed since the beta version that was released last month. More details can be found in the release notes for Release Candidate 1. A special thanks goes out to Tony, Joe, and Richard for their very generous donations during the New Year's Eve livestream. And that will bring us to the end of Midweek News, episode 58. Stay tuned for more great content coming in 2024, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you next time.